Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host. I'm a filmmaker on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode, I pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on streaming. I pick a favourite film from that topic and battle it out against a guest to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 2. Hello, podsters or podroonies if you prefer. Welcome back to part 2 of the podcast where we are talking Whodunnit movies, relating the episode to the new Knives Out film Wake Up Dead Man with Daniel Craig, of course. So this is, of course, part of the show where we look back at your Instagram responses from the previous episode and movie which was on, by the way, Stephen King adaptations 2. So we've done 2 Stephen King adaptation episodes, so do check both of them out. Movie Guy 85 went with either Stand By Me or The Shawshank Redemption. Yourself, Heather, went with your favourite film of all time, The Shawshank Redemption. Tommy from the Haven't Seen It podcast went with The Shining. N. Patek went with The Dead Zone. The other half went with The Green Mile, makes me cry every time. And The World of Horror went with The Shawshank Redemption. I think that's everything. Cool. So, as we're talking Whodunnit films, it's your turn, Heather, your pick. What did you go for and why?
I went with Zodiac.
Nice.
Which is David Fincher's masterpiece. All you social network heads. I went with Zodiac. Zodiac is in my top 5, probably top 3, possibly maybe even top 2 films of all time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Some high scores coming then.
Yeah. Well, unforeseen high scores in the first one, but first film we looked at, but may have to adjust in the, competitive nature of things. So I absolutely love this film. This is my favorite Fincher. It is one of my favorite films of all time. It is such a me kind of film. There is lots of talking in rooms. I said this before, lots of talking in rooms. Really gritty crime, who done it. You don't find out who does it. It doesn't matter. It's the process.
Yeah.
It's the whole putting together things. I just love kind of journalist, thriller, drama things. So you can guess I love All the President's Men. I love this one. I love Spotlight. This is my kind of film. And so I was like, I have to choose Zodiac. I was weighing them up, which ones to go with, and I've never spoken about Zodiac on the podcast. Okay. So, I recently ticked off Shawshank Redemption, talking about that on a podcast, and now I get to talk about Zodiac as well. So, very excited.
Silly question: were there any other films in contention, or was it always this?
Well, as I said, Gosford Park was one thing I was considering because I'd never seen it and it'd been in the watch list for ages. I was like, oh, this is gives me the chance to actually watch it. But I got that chance anyway because you chose it. I considered Witness for the Prosecution.
Right. Okay.
Because that was a fairly recent first watch for me as well, though obviously a very old classic film.
It's the Jimmy Stewart one, is it? I think.
Marlene Dietrich is the one I remember. Okay. Yeah. But that would have been interesting. Actually, the one that was top of my list you covered a couple of years ago.
Right.
But you said that would have been okay. But I was like, oh no, let's bring some new content because I was considering Rear Window.
Yeah,
that was actually probably the one that I might have gone with just from a competitive perspective. But because that's also, it's also an absolute masterpiece. But we're talking about Zodiac.
Excellent. So initial reactions for me the first time I saw this, I really liked it a lot. I didn't massively love it. It's not my favorite Fincher. I think my favorite Fincher is Seven. But I think there is an element of this where it becomes, I know it's very much based on facts and Fincher is being very faithful to this story, but there is an element of feeling a tad dissatisfied with the fact that they don't catch the killer. But then rewatching it again over time, many times, and I'm like, that's not the point of this film at all. I completely missed the point, really. And it was just so great watching it for this podcast, how this kind of case just drives these people crazy, and especially Jake Gyllenhaal's character in that last hour, like his obsession of like trying to find the Zodiac killer when no one cares anymore. It's just kind of a really interesting dynamic, and like so many like films would have stopped, I would think, before his kind of major scenes at the end get going, if you know what I mean. Whereas like, well, there's no more story left. You can't actually get him behind bars, you know. The evidence is just not there. Whereas Gyllenhaal was, because he's so obsessed with this case, like he's always kind of looking at it from a very sort of following the hard evidence. He's going with more theories and looking at it as a puzzle, like sort of the Zodiac himself. So yeah, I found it really fascinating, and of course, like Fincher directs it in such a masterful way, and really, really precise in a very different kind of way compared to Robert Altman in Gosford Park. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one as well.
Yeah, they all, like you were saying, they all get obsessed with it in some way. It's not. It is the main focus, of course, on Graysmith, the Jake Gyllenhaal character. But watching it multiple times, you see that actually they're all obsessed with it, and either choose to then remove themselves from the situation. You know, even a more minor character like Anthony Edwards' character, he realizes it's not good for his work-life balance, which doesn't exist, and his life at home, so he then removes himself from the division. He gets a
transfer,
and it goes to fraud. Fun. And you know, do you see then the Downey Jr. character goes down a very slippery slope with his drugs and alcohol and everything, but that is driven by the fact that he's the one with the target on his back, and also Mark Ruffalo's character is also at some point just completely obsessed with it, but also kind of has to step back and say there's no point anymore. But then he gets pulled back in again, because he is still obsessed, like, and he's like helping Jake Gyllenhaal and sending him off to places, though he himself, you know, is not directly leading because they've kind of like given up on it. But yeah. So
what happens in Zodiac, Heather?
Well, it's about three perfectly normal people's reaction to the So it's about this the Zodiac killer who between mid 60s and early 80s is killing random people. Some of them do actually end up surviving, and it's about the investigation on the one hand, but also about the amateur sleuthing of this San Francisco Chronicle cartoonist who fancies himself as a bit of an amateur detective, Robert Graysmith. And the film is very clear to state that it's based on case files, but we also know that Robert Graysmith was very involved in the making, so it is very much from his perspective as well. And the fact that this was an unsolved, to this day, still unsolved murder cases. Yeah.
Excellent. So directing then, I kind of really liked the opening scene where like the Zodiac killer murders those two teenagers at the start. Like all the shots are kind of very precisely framed. Like they spend hours getting each shot perfectly right when they're kind of parked in the car. Most of the shots are within the car, or at least feels like it really gets you in their perspective. And I wouldn't say it's massively creepy or unnerving when the black car pulls up the first time, and then he kind of drives away, and then it just feels weird in that moment. But when kind of the car comes back and pulls up right behind them, you're like, oh, okay, something bad is going to happen now. Like the blocking, the direction and lighting is fantastic to kind of conceal the identity of the Zodiac when he gets out of the car. but you really don't see it coming at all before he ends up shooting them both because of how like so undramatic it is. Like there's no movement of the camera to prepare you, no suspense building at all for me, which all makes it feel quite brutal and shocking rather than kind of scary and thrilling. Then like the slow motion shots of them dying are like you just can't kind of escape from this moment kind of thing. It's so well done, and yet it feels like Fincher hasn't done much with the camera at all. It's so well judged in that way.
Yeah, which, what you were saying about multiple shots. It was multiple shots, multiple takes, as we know, for David Fincher, 50 plus takes per scene. I mean, perfection. But he does these things for a reason, and it's this absolute meticulous attention to detail that the man has. He knows exactly why he is doing a particular shot. He knows why he has the dolly shot with the car that you're following the car.
That's great.
He knows why he's doing that. He knows also specifically why he has to film, from particular angles, because to your point, they don't know who the killer is. That's the whole point. It's not even the fact that they're trying to keep some kind of mystery to it at the beginning, which is what you might think. It is literally, they can't show anybody because they don't know who it is. They never knew one way or another. Which is why they had throughout the film 3 or 4 different actors playing the murderer anytime the murder is actually on screen. It's always different, or different people calling in.
Because you could have easily directed the murder scenes in such a different way to really kind of hide the identity of the Zodiac in more of an obvious way, but Fincher doesn't do that. You very much feel the presence of the Zodiac in each of the murder scenes, and he doesn't want you to escape from the profile of this guy, which I found really kind of unnerving when you watch all of the...
Well, it's also very much that the way that it is shot, and why we actually don't see the very first murder, which was done in the 60s, is because it is all done based on case files or Graysmith's book. And there were no witnesses, there were no survivors or anything of these. So he doesn't show anything that he doesn't know based on case files. So that's why whether it's like in the cab scene as well later on, that direction of the killing in the cab scene is they literally can't show anymore because anything else would be interpreting something into it that they cannot know for sure. So that's why it's like, the higher up camera just, showing, and what they show is based on, well, he must have been here because there's the fingerprint, etc., and or it's just also deliberate. But the fact that, as you said, you don't really realize the work that's gone into it. And I think that's the absolute, that's the sign of a great director, that it's a lot of work, it's intentional, but you don't notice it.
Yeah, definitely.
But you realize it's been done for a reason, which is similar to what we were saying about Gosford Park. He's had them being filmed all the time and with mics all the time, but what he's ultimately chosen to show in the film is a choice. And it's very much the same with Fincher, just piecing everything together to make up the, what he wants the audience to see and be aware of.
Absolutely. I really like the second murder scene as well, in the park by the lake.
Oh, I love the second murder.
Yeah.
Yes. Really take care of yourself. Whoa. What a fun time.
Yeah. I sound like such a nice person. I really like that scene by the lake because it kind of feels even more brutal and yet simpler from David Fincher, the way he directs it. Again, it feels quite matter of fact, but I love the little bit of cleverness with the framing when the woman sees the Zodiac killer approaching them, then kind of hides briefly behind or in front of the tree. You can't really tell, as he's all dressed in black. And again, it's all very simply directed with no suspense building at all. You even feel that the couple could get out of this in moments. It feels so undramatic. Then when they're kind of tied up, it feels like the guy is going to just walk away. He's shown the couple he has bullets in his gun. then moments later he stabs them in the back with like no change in the direction style at all, and it just feels so very up close and personal and feels so brutal. Like no warning that he was no kind of preemptive warning through the direction that he was going to do that, and it was just like, oh my god.
So
that was quite brutal.
Yeah, and one thing that's particularly harrowing about that is that there's no score.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's no score, which means you are literally just hearing the screams and the thud of the knife.
Yeah.
So and I think that, and because what you were saying, like, there's no necessary build-up of suspense. I mean, I think you know what's going to happen to them. Like, we know this. We don't necessarily know how. We think they might be shot, but the stabbing is pretty brutal. But there's no build-up of suspense through score, which is your classic, like if you're watching a, murder mystery or a horror film and you turn the sound off, is it as scary? No. Most of the time it's not. I mean, think about the classic horror scores like a Psycho. Yeah. I mean, okay, that's pretty horrific that she's getting stabbed in a shower, but it is, it's the strings score that is so, inherent to that actual scene as well. And here you have none of that. Yes, you know what's going to happen, but the sound is that much more brutal because you can hear the piercing of the flesh, and it's like, ooh, okay, this is nice. Or then he changes the camera angle so that when she's being shot, and they kind of almost film it from the point of view of the guy who survives. I think he's another survivor. He's not very good at killing men here, but he's so it's almost like you see her being stabbed, but it's like from his perspective because it kind of takes the camera down lower. So it's just
like right down to ground level.
Right down to ground level. Yeah, it's like it's almost like he's watching what's happening to her. That scene is just so good, and
it makes it even more intimate and personal between those characters.
Yeah, and another thing about that scene is that because Fincher is so obsessed with making things realistic to a particular time, is that reservoir. I think I read that wasn't actually a reservoir anymore. So he had to kind of figure out how to, make it. So he did kind of like make it because he wants to go to every single place that he didn't know we're filming where these we're filming there. We could just go randomly to somewhere else with a reservoir. No, we want to go there, and then he like filled it in, I guess, in post and stuff like that. Or I don't know. Maybe he flooded the whole place again. But like, it's just these small things, or the whole attention to detail with San Francisco, making it look like it would in the 70s or 60s. The score, as it would have been, what they would have been listening to then, and it's just the attention to detail. It's actually insane. It's just tiny things. Yeah.
I'm going through all the murders now. Apart from the third one, but it's interesting with the attempted fourth murder, where the Zodiac killer loosens this woman's wheel nut on her car on the highway.
Yeah.
The woman and her baby, they kind of end up in the killer's car, and it feels a bit more suspenseful this time. So I guess you get like a feel at this point how kind of the Zodiac killer kind of operates and who he targets. You still have kind of the clever direction in finding his identity, with hiding his identity with the direction and lighting, but there's a bit more like movement with the camera, so it's a tiny bit more stylized with the camera angles, and it's also kind of interesting that the killer threatens to throw the baby out the window before he kills her. They obviously don't show any of that, probably because obviously for obvious reasons that nobody wants to see a baby thrown out of a car window. but they cut the rest of the scene entirely, and we jump to the fact that the car has been stopped and she has already jumped out of the car, and she's escaped, and is a truck driver has stopped and another woman has stopped to help, and she ends up finding her baby. So in a way it just kind of feels just as shocking as the other murder scenes, with just that woman just through the woman's acting of losing her baby for a moment, but it's like Fincher's almost like baiting you as a viewer that this is where things get a bit more dramatic. You kind of can't escape it with this type of story. But then nope, he cuts the scene entirely where you think it could have gone down more of a darker route. So I kind of like this kind of commitment to the tone of this film, that Fincher is keeping you guessing, but this matter-of-fact nature and dramatic tone remains throughout all these kind of attempted murder set pieces.
Which I think is the major difference to something like Seven, which I also really do love. Like, that's my number, like 3 Fincher, like, as well. But it's very different. So to that is that this is much more, as you said, very matter of fact. This is what happened, and we are showing you what happened as it is outlaid in these police files or Graysmith's book or whatever. And we don't know more than that. Whereas in Seven, of course, the camera is permanently on the move, following what's going on, very dramatic, very suspenseful, very jump scare moments, which you don't really have here at all. And the main suspense, I think, and I'm sure it will come to that as well, is like a lot of the suspense is more to do with paranoia. So the really freaky scene with the basement, is that freaky because we are in Graysmith's shoes in a way? Yeah. Whereas this, it might not be at all. But it's because we're seeing it from his POV, which then adds that suspense. Whereas with these killings, and again, to the point what we're in as well, like the killings are done by 40 minutes. And we've still got 2 hours of movie to go. Yeah. So, how does this film, another genius, like how does it still manage to keep a good pace and that you are still in it and still focused on what's going on, which is another story feat, because really it then just becomes a procedural of, we're investigating this case, and it has its jumps, 2 hours, 2 days later, 4 weeks later, and you're like, whoa, what happened in those 4 weeks? Well, clearly nothing of relevance because they can't show what they didn't have in the case files or in Graysmith's book.
Yeah. Because obviously, as you were saying, like Fincher is keeping really close and accurate to events that actually happened with these murder scenes. And with the highway scene, you could argue that it feels a bit jumpy. The fact that he's sticking to the facts so much that he's not he might be accused of not really creating a cohesive scene, but I don't think that's the case at all. He somehow creates an incredible scene that is sticking to the facts, whereas yes, it might feel very jumping from moment to moment, but like he somehow kind of makes it work anyway for me in that highway scene in particular, because I think there's enough shock value within that scene itself to make it work in itself with the acting, with the directing, and it's still really well done. And as I said, it's just kind of done in such a way that he's kind of manipulating the viewer in terms of what you're kind of expecting to see. And it almost feels like he's deliberately holding back for later scenes with more of your typical David Fincher style later on.
It is still very anxiety inducing because you know that she's in the car and you're like, do not get in the car. It's like the classic, don't go in that room. What are you doing? But I do wonder, and this is just coming to me now, is that there is the theory that it wasn't just one murderer. So part of me is like wondering, well, is that slight change in camera angle, slight change in direction, he puts the camera in the car. And I guess it's because he's got the witness, so he can do that. He can go up close. Is it because there is still the question mark over whether it was potentially a different person? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out whether that was conclusive that was the same killer, because even in the phone calls, which are also extremely creepy, these phone calls. Yeah, the breathing. Like, goodbye. Or just that person went, goodbye. Oh. They use different voice actors there as well. So, and we know they use different actors to portray the Zodiac, like whenever you see him in a scene. But I think they also did different voice actors as well for the various phone calls, because again, it's inclusive.
Yeah.
But they did say that they asked the operator in the police department, or the wherever you phone, the police department, they did ask her, and she did say that John Carroll Lynch was the most like the actual killer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which and that was the Lee character that I think you're supposed to believe at the end was
definitely
was the killer. But yeah, there's other theories on that, of course, as well, because again, the evidence just wasn't there. They just
physical evidence.
That's what they thought. It's all well, I mean, the fact that they rely so much on a handwriting expert is still insane to me.
Yeah.
But what?
There are other handwriting experts surely around to get a second
opinion.
It's
not just that, but like that is the main thing that they're relying on, is that the handwriting looks different. Like, I mean, I was just talking about my handwritten notes earlier. My handwritten notes are written in about 25 different like fonts, if you like. I mean, I don't know if you would be able to tell they were written by the same person. No idea. But yeah, but I guess that's how they did things then.
Yeah. I like the scene where they think Arthur Lee Allen could be the Zodiac killer, and they find his kind of trailer. Mark Ruffalo and his crew find his trailer with all the squirrels in it. Like the first shot has this kind of weird squirrel like in a cage upside down, and you're not sure exactly what it actually is until you see the other squirrels. The scene certainly feels creepy throughout, like the time they search the trailer, and it definitely kind of touches on the realms of feeling like a horror film in this moment, or even a scene from Seven in a way. But it feels like that it doesn't go too far with the darkness, with that kind of thing. And they actually end the scene with kind of some light comedy where like Arthur gets out of the car, he drives up, gets out of the car, and he's only wearing his shirt and underwear. So that was kind of an interesting moment of levity in quite a dark movie overall. So that was interesting to me.
There are comedic moments to it. I mean, I think a lot of the banter between Paul and Robert is quite lighthearted as well. Or just there's still a lot of the stuff that happens in the newspaper office is quite lighthearted. When he's first looking at his comics, and he says, "Oh, it's horrid, not so horrid." Yeah. I guess we'll go with the not so horrid. Or a lot of the Downey Jr. lines that he has, and I mean that is fairly fabricated. I read, because that's actually not quite true. Like the two of them really didn't have much interaction. Was certainly not necessarily what you could call friends. So that's kind of part of, well, how are we going to get the story out? Well, we need to have these two kind of chatting about the case a bit more. Otherwise, it would just be Graysmith like talking into the void and making his notes and being even more obsessed and a bit of a loner. I mean, there is that little I guess 70s the throwaway line about with the R word, which it's like oof. But it's like I guess I was trying to show that he is a loner and nobody actually likes the guy because he's a bit weird. But Jake Gyllenhaal playing crazy obsessed weird guys. I mean, this is an audition for Nightcrawler, I guess.
Love Nightcrawler.
Just what he likes doing. Or he got it because of the Donnie Darko, didn't he? Because it's Fincher saw him in that, and then saw the Vision, and then he was the first choice. So
sure,
so I think there's some of that does. So I mean, Robert Downey Jr. generally he's kind of playing a bit to type here, I guess.
Yeah,
which is he's all three of them are. To be fair, we'll come to this with acting. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. They all kind of very. But are they playing to type because that's what they are? But this is back in 2007. This is before they became that
big
type.
Stars.
Apart from Downey Jr., I think he was maybe a bit more established. But I mean, we do have to talk about the basement scene.
Yes, because that is my favorite scene. Is that yours as well?
Oh, I don't know. I have so many.
Okay.
I think
the whole movie.
The whole movie. But I think that's the whole point. Is it's really hard to pick out one particular scene simply because the whole thing is so. It's the sum of its parts, right? It's so meticulously put together, and it's the visual storytelling of Fincher, which is, one of his trademarks. Very similar as a way to we said with Altman with Gosford Park, like where he's putting the camera. I mean, nothing is left to chance with Fincher. This is the one thing that I think everybody who's worked with him said is like, no, we're going to do 50 takes and I'm going to delete every single one of them and then we're going to do it again. And I mean, there's some wonderful stories, of course, from his sets. I think Downey was the one who was just like, I cannot be bothered with this, and was making a big point of like peeing in bottles when they were working, like just to show that like, you're making 50 takes, so I'm going to pee in a bottle because you're not letting me take a break. But I think that if we're going with I mean, I just also love the scene, like the final scene with Chloe Sevigny when she comes in and he's you see the extent of his madness because he is literally surrounded by all these like boxes and everything, and it's but that's a tiny detail. So what is so I think if we're the basement scene is the one that you do remember just because it is so creepy as well, and how it's framed. And you remember, of course, what they've said before about basements. It's like, oh, nobody has a basement in California, and I do. And he's in the middle, you go down, and you're like, ah!
Yeah.
But again, it's because of if you didn't have the knowledge that Graysmith is a complete obsessed, paranoid, amateur detective at this point, would it be? I mean, would it be then be different? I don't know. If he was just like, I mean, if anybody else was in that situation, I mean, he locked the door when he goes in. Well, a lot of people do that, like, and then he gets really paranoid because he runs the door and he's like, oh, it's locked. You're like, well, yeah. And he's like, going to chill. Yeah, I'll unlock it. Duh.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. Yeah. So is that so creepy because we're inside Graysmith's head and seeing that paranoia, or is it really creepy?
Yeah, it's such a great scene, and I think like you're dead right with the fact that is it Graysmith's perspective, or is this guy just trying to be really civil and nice to him, but it's just seen as like being really creepy. But I think Fincher does like an incredible job as well, because obviously there's moments where there's that great moment when Bob Vaughn, I think the actor is called, or I can't remember.
It's the character.
Yeah, he says that he drew the posters.
Yeah.
So then this is the kind of the first time that like Graysmith is like, oh, okay, I'm in the room with the Zodiac potentially. Yeah. So it happens like within such a small moment. And then when they kind of go into the basement, the cameras are kind of sort of in full of like really subtle movement this time compared to all the other kind of murder scenes. Like you feel like the camera's more on the move. You feel like because this is one of the characters we've been following, Fincher has a bit more license to really ramp up the suspenseful, to make a really suspenseful scene here. Like you kind of have tracking shots on Graysmith like walking through the basement and following the creaks on the floorboards above him, and it feels more dramatic with like the lighting when he kind of turns the light off, and then later when he suddenly appears in front of him when the door's locked. So it's kind of great how kind of Fincher makes you feel a bit more present in the scene, using kind of suspense this time to change it up for the characters we care for and following in this film.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing this is a scene that was not in the case files, so it is from the Graysmith book. So case files will not have on record that creepy amateur detective went to potential suspect's house.
Yeah.
What did I read? Somebody was listening to something and they said, oh, well, anybody with that bad a toupee, was obviously suspicious in some way. But the actor. But I like that. But yeah, but I mean, you're supposed. It's manipulative.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
scene. I mean,
But it's the scene where like Fincher gives himself license to be a bit more manipulative.
This is the 7 Fincher, as you said. Yeah. This is and less the methodical process of what he's been doing up to now.
Because you kind of don't expect it in a way, because it feels like with all these murder scenes that he's established this type of style that he's going to go with, a lot of like fixed, locked off cameras, whereas this is kind of a little bit more expansive with his style, and you're like, oh, what's happening? This is not supposed to happen. I'm kind of getting freaked out now more about the character I'm following. what? This isn't supposed to happen.
And that's what he wants, because it's different. So you notice it, and even that somebody who doesn't meticulously look at every scene and wonder why is he shooting it this way, you notice it, but you might not be able to put your finger on why you're noticing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the whole genius of the whole thing.
Directing score for me for Zodiac, I really liked it. Again, just like genius levels of directing, of how, as I said, like he kind of manipulates you in that particular scene as well, and just how detailed it is and how precise it is in a very different way compared to Gosford Park, and how much restraint he's using, and yet it feels kind of really stylized in that way anyway, because it's Fincher. He kind of can't help but make it feel really stylized, and yet he's not really doing much at all. So I'll go like a 9.2. How about you, Heather?
Okay, and I swear I'm not like just changing this. And I will show you my notes, but I have a straight 10. Because I think it's his absolute masterpiece, and it's all the attention to detail, and it's just silly things like, I mean, not silly things, but the guy went to freaking flashlight museum. Okay, so I heard learn about this today. He went to a flashlight museum to say, okay, if the guy is using a flashlight on top of the gun to see his victims, where would the light show? How is this realistic? Is this how I could do it? And he went to find out what kind of flashlight it could. I mean, this is insane.
Wow.
Like the man is crazy, right? But this is the attention to detail. It's nothing. It's all for a reason. It's the little things, the fact that you don't even realize necessarily the direction. Yes, it feels directed, of course. It feels very masterfully put together. And as I say, in my opinion, this is Social Network is also a masterpiece. Like, he has quite a few, but this came first, and this is getting a 10. And I had a 10 written down even before we gave Gosford Park such high scores.
Let's check your notes.
Yes, no. I should have turned in the points beforehand, shouldn't I? But we're being spontaneous here. No. I did say I had rough scores written down, so I did change my. By the way, I put up my Gosford directing scores based on our conversation. So now I'm regretting my life choices there, but we're all good. We're all good.
That's the magic of the podcast for you.
Change strategy halfway through. Wait a minute.
I just can't imagine, like, David Fincher, when you're talking about The Torch, how much research he's going into, like, The Torch. I can't imagine him saying to, like, the runner or the best boy or whatever, just like, oh, go get me a torch, a flashlight. No. We need one now for the scene.
The whole thing had to be so perfect for the 70s. So, the reconstructing the San Francisco like pier front, the waterfront, like it would have been then, and then they do the quick build of the tower, which of course we know from the San Francisco skyline now, but they just to show the passage of time, I guess, or the choices that he made to show the passage of time by just a little bit notes down at the bottom, just these small things. And the pacing is just like, the thing is over, like, what is it, 2 hours 40 minutes, but it doesn't. And the murders, as I said, are done after the first 40, and you've got 2 hours left to go. But the fact that it doesn't, well, to me, it doesn't feel long at all. And it's permanently moving from scene to scene to scene to scene, even though it's just a bunch of people ultimately just
talking in rooms.
Talking in rooms. Yeah.
Sometimes in cars. As well.
Sometimes in cars. Sometimes outside the police department.
Yeah.
We're varying it. We're varying it above. Mixing it up.
Yeah. So screenplay then. So the film certainly feels like very precise in its pacing, and feels very like committed to keeping to the facts and starting every scene with like an amount of time later and a date and time and a flashcard on screen. And it doesn't matter if you don't see a character for a while, like halfway through, like Jake Gyllenhaal's character just doesn't appear. Then towards the end, like, Mark Ruffalo isn't needed and you barely see Robert Downey Jr. in the last hour. Like, the film never is tempted to like write a fake scene for a character, for a big movie star, just to boost their screen time because he or she is a big name. Like, you know, if the scene isn't based on fact, it doesn't make the film in a way. Like, it's super efficient and streamlined writing for me, like to the point also where it feels very dense, that there's no like real entry point, I don't think, where the film gives you time to like think about what could happen next. Like, this is the world, you have to catch up. Like, the film isn't gonna play down to the audience and just like, you know, give you lots of exposition dumps or whatever. No, this is what happened. It's a lot like The Wire. If you've ever watched The Wire, like, this is the world, you just have to keep up with it, you know.
Yeah, it's like we were saying about Gosford Park, though, that there has to be a certain level of exposition because they have to bring you up to speed with what's going on in the investigation. But the fact is, it's realistically done because these people would be having these conversations about the case. And the fact that we're stuck in the 70s where there wasn't necessarily like, you know, you couldn't just send someone an email. That you actually had to talk to them. Awful. That helps them give us that level of information that we need. Either because, you know, they're reading the letters out loud, or there's these like. At some point, I just lost track of what murder was in what district. Like, it was like, okay, these are the Vallejo ones. This is the, you know, this is it. And that's why Ruffalo is involved so late, because it wasn't his district until one happened in San Francisco. And then he and Anthony Edwards get involved. And just kind of keeping track of who works in what police department. But we have to, as you say, we have to put that together ourselves. And we do get there. And that explains why there's that exposition to bring us up to speed, because it is a natural situation. This is what they would be doing. They would be having these conversations, or they would be saying, oh, you need to tell me that information, or you need to go and talk to this person. And that's the essence of a police investigation or investigative journalism. That's what they do. They go and talk to people. So, you know, and there's your information.
That's the movie.
That's the whole point. And if you don't quite remember what that name was, well, it'll come again later. And I do remember with I was like, who was that Vaughn person again? Oh, they were talking about Rick Marshall, and then there was Vaughn, and then he goes to see Vaughn, and I'm like, who? Oh, wait, hang on. No, he was, okay, fine. Yeah. He was his colleague. Whew, got it. But they don't need to re-explain that. They you know, let's give the audience some credit, and they have to keep up with what's going on. And we give them the necessary information. And, you know, it's not necessarily supposed to be a whodunit, because at the end of the day, it's a true story, and they didn't know. And we're kind of left, I think we're supposed to think it is the Lee character, simply
Arthur
because
Lee Allen,
and that's because the conclusion that Graysmith pretty much comes to. But it's inconclusive, and that's just, it might be unsatisfying. Like you said, your first watch was a bit unsatisfying, but that's just what happened.
Exactly.
Literally the story. They can't, and nor should they make up some kind of satisfactory ending, because the guy died before, you know, maybe more advanced DNA testing came in, or they got, you know, more than Philip Baker Hall's handwriting expertise. You know, that's what they were dealing with. Like, then, they had to wait for things to arrive. Like, oh, how are we going to get in touch with them? I'll send them a fax. No, they don't have a fax machine. Oh, they put it in the post. I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what? It's a murder case, and you're sending something by snail mail. What?
What's going on? Watching it in 2025, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, because they didn't have a fax. Some of them didn't. They were like, we could just fax it, because those were the modern police departments. They had a fax, but the guy out in Vallejo or whatever he was, he didn't have one yet. Just send it in the post.
Yeah. Oh, send a fax in the post. Yeah.
But that time, 5 more people could be dead.
Fax
but
machine in the post.
That's actually also another good thing. Like, it drive keeps you going through the screenplay, because there is that kind of, without it being over sense of urgency, you do know that, well, he wants to have, you know, he's setting them certain deadlines, or, you know, he's saying, the discussion at the beginning, what page should we put him on? Oh, we can't put him in the front page, because, you know, well, what's the Inquirer doing? What are they doing? Oh, they're putting him in page. Oh, they're not printing it all. Ooh, well, let's go with page 4, maybe. But, and it's like, well, you're talking about somebody potentially going and murdering people, but they're like, what are the Inquirer doing? Oh, they know as well, do they? Oh.
Yeah, you can't help but like get away. These characters can't help but be stuck in the kind of the politics of the situation and how they're going to look. And it's not just the journalists; it's the police as well, and even Jake Gyllenhaal's character with his relationship with his family as well. With how dedicated he is with this case. It's interesting.
Dedicated is one word. Dedicated.
Yeah, obsessed.
Did you also read that he said because Graysmith was involved in some way in making this, of course, like he was.
Oh, okay.
But he never watched the full thing, so he was just advising, but he never watched it until he actually saw the he was invited to the sort of premiere or something like that.
Right.
And he says, "Oh God, watch it." I mean, he knew how they were going to portray him. Like he said, you can take no frills approach. It's fine. And he watched it and he says, "Oh, now I understand why." Basically, like, what a dick.
Yeah.
But
did I really do that?
Yeah.
Yes, you did, sir. Yes, you did.
Yes, you really were. That's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean,
so it's interesting. Like as the film goes on, it feels like kind of the cops go through so many suspects, and it feels like they're getting further and further away from catching the Zodiac killer, and like. As you said, like Inspector William Armstrong like leaves the department, and it all feels very hopeless that nobody's gonna like find the Zodiac killer, but not Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Robert Graysmith. Like the film switches to focus on Graysmith's character, following the evidence that the police overlooked as circumstantial. Graysmith gets really far and almost finds him, but again, there's a point where you think he's never going to find this Zodiac killer either. Then the film definitely feels like a story that it's more about like how this investigation is tearing these people's lives apart,
exactly.
more than actually finding the killer. Then towards the end, when like the evidence points to Arthur Lee Allen again, you think it's all too late, because Mark Ruffalo's character's like, yeah, this is all fine and dandy and great, and you may be onto something here, but it won't stand up in court. You won't have enough hard evidence to put this guy away. For Graysmith, it then just means that he needs to just look the man in the eye to know that it's him. That's the only thing he has left to get out of this obsession of his about the case. And even though I think at the back of his mind, he knows that the Zodiac killer will never be arrested and caught properly, like even before that moment, he just had that kind of scene with Mark Ruffalo telling him, yeah, it's impossible. He just has to solve this puzzle like any other puzzle that he does, on the back of his newspaper. For me, this film is about how like obsessions mess you up and ruin your lives.
That's ultimately it. Yeah, it is. And I think that's another great scene actually as well, that kind of closure in a way that he has or doesn't, depending on the way you look at it, when he does go into the hardware shop or something that he's working at, and then you're reminded of that, what he said to, I think he said it to his wife, hasn't he? He just needs to just see him, and as you said, look at me now, and then that literally happens, and then you recall that from earlier. I think that's interesting about the Graysmith character is he almost, like you say, it's like he's solving a puzzle, but he doesn't feel part of that puzzle, which is why he puts him in these stupid situations. Like, which, I mean, there's that one scene when he first meets Chloe Sevigny's character, and they're just discussing that Avery's off to meet some potential thing, and Graysmith is so removed. He goes, "Oh, this is what he's doing." He's so matter of fact, and he's like, well, "You do realize that's like 2 hours away?" And he goes, "Oh, maybe I should phone his wife and check on him." And she goes, like he doesn't. It's almost like it's not real in a way for him, like, which is why he doesn't think because he's either so obsessed or it's such a puzzle and he has to solve that he never realizes that he could actually be putting himself and his blooming family in detail. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, somebody just calling and like, deep breathing down the phone to me again. Like, what, mate?
Yeah,
you've got like a wife, you have 3 children. This guy knows where you live, like, and Chloe's Sevigny is very much the voice of reason there. So again, she's kind of, David Fincher's not always the best at writing female characters. This one is potentially no exception, but she is there kind of to provide that realism and to remind him of actually what's at stake here, or help the audience to figure out, because we were kind of like along for it as well, like, ooh, yeah. But at the beginning anyway, until we realize really completely how obsessed and dangerous he is. But she's there to kind of ground him and say, look, this guy, what are you you went on television, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. There's certainly points in the film where, certainly like when a lot of the police have just given up, it's still like an open case, but there's only like Mark Ruffalo on it, that's it, and everyone's given up on it apart from Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's just like you kind of watching it, you want him to stop as well, just because like his family are being, well, his family could potentially be threatened, and you know the Zodiac is literally calling him every night, and it's like, because it's not like a physical threat, it's all kind of sort of passive and not indirect, that he feels kind of safe, and it's only when he feels physically threatened with, you know, the Bob Vaughn character in the basement, that it feels a bit more real for him. Even then he has to keep going, but then it's just like you're in doubt whether you want to keep rooting for this guy, because you're just going down a cul-de-sac. I don't think you're gonna do this. Like the police have given up. All the other journalists are not covering the Zodiac anymore. Like, what are you doing? You know, the fact that his only goal is to just look him in the eye at the end is kind of sort of not dissatisfying to the audience watching, but it's just, you kind of pity him and just like you feel sorry for him that he's just got to this point where that's all he's got
as well. Kind of arrogant as well. It's like, oh, I'll know, you know, when I see him.
Definitely.
But there's a great, I think it's in the boat scene with, I need to kind of find the quote, but there's a bit with because Paul's obviously gone and disappeared and gone and lived in a boat. And he's basically like also they say, just give it up. Like just give it up. So, you know, he sat there with his drink, with his drugs, half naked in his boat with his big, you know, dressing gown on, probably lives in that dressing gown. And I can't find the exact quote, but he's basically saying, like, just like, what are you doing? Like, just stop. Just stop now. And he doesn't. He just keeps going. He doesn't care. But yeah.
It's a nice boat though. I quite like the boat.
That's a nice boat. Nice houseboat. Yeah.
Funny and interesting lines. I've got a bunch from Robert Downey Jr., I think. Gyllenhaal says, wow, he wears his gun like Bullet. No, McQueen got that from Toschi. That was good.
Which apparently was kind of something that was said. Like and also Star Wars with station. Yeah.
I kind of really liked the lines where Mark Ruffalo's character is in with the handwriting expert, and Ruffalo's like, oh, and that? And then he says, speak in the hall if you speak again. I have to concentrate. Sorry counts as speaking. And then he just stops and just like waits for him to leave. That was great.
Yeah, there's the one that that was quite. How do we know that this leader's real? It's very real. How do I know? Because I saw it on TV. It's obviously, you know, #fake news. Yeah.
During
dialogue, it's hard to pick.
During the highway scene with the Zodiac and the woman and her baby, she says, do you always go around helping people in the night? When I'm done with them, they don't need much help.
Oh, yeah.
That's quite a dark one.
This was a good one. Yeah. Paul. So, Robert, what are your hobbies? Oh, well, I like to read. I enjoy books. Those are the same things.
Yeah.
I laughed at that.
And obviously the classic one, not many people have basements in California. I do.
Yeah. Or the other one, like, I'm not the Zodiac killer, but if I was, I certainly wouldn't tell you. That is actually also a really good scene. The where they first meet John Carroll Lynch and they interrogate him, and they, you know, obviously focusing on what they want you to see, like the boots and he just generally gives the creepy air. But the guy is actually a pedophile, so he's not a good guy anyway. So like, even if he's not the Zodiac killer, he's not a great person. So, but yeah, that's all. He's also really good in this as well. But we're getting to acting.
I like the line from Gyllenhaal and Downey when Gyllenhaal says, "Just because you can't prove it doesn't mean it's not true." And then he's like, "Easy day, Harry." That's a cool one. But I think my favorite one is, "What were you doing at the gun range?" Reading.
Oh yeah. Reading. Yeah.
That was funny.
Or William Armstrong. Avery's on 2. Tell him to screw. You want me to communicate that verbatim, or can I spice it up a bit?
So, screenplay score for me, again, I really liked it, and I just really liked this commitment to really sticking to the kind of the case files of this case, and yet you kind of have some license for Fincher to fill in the gaps as well, with certainly, with Jake Gyllenhaal's character and what he experienced. Yeah, and I just really like this commitment of just like not really caring who is actually playing these roles, and it's just like, no, if you don't see this character within this timeline for a certain amount of time, then he's not going to be in the scene in the film, So I really kind of like that commitment. And just this kind of slow reveal throughout certainly that last hour, the fact that, yeah, we're not going to catch the killer here, people, when we're watching it. This is more turning into how obsession tears people apart. So I really like that. So I will go for like a 9.3 for me.
That's high.
Yeah. It's very good.
We're good. Yeah, I have a 9.5. And I think it's because the screenplay, we often think of screenplay as just being like the dialogue. That's a lot of people think. But it's so much more than that. I was recently in another podcast and we were talking about Interstellar. Yeah. And the person I was talking to really had a problem with Interstellar, like the dialogue. And I'm like, the dialogue is not the best, but it's a lot more than that. It's like what the whole story, the whole building of the characters, like everything that's being communicated and moving, and the pacing. I know we talk about, the editing is part of the directing, but it's also the pacing of the dialogue and moving you. And that is what I admire so much about this. Like we said a million times already, the murders are done by 40 minutes. Yeah. But we're still engaged and we're still involved. And this is what I love about this subgenre. The people talking in rooms, the journalist / police thriller drama thing. All the President's Men, already mentioned it. Spotlight, this. I just find it so, the process is so fascinating. And if you have the right director and the right screenplay and you have it paced correctly so that you are never bored, there's always something going on, something to watch, something new to observe. And what you were saying about the 3 characters, you could, like we were saying with Gosford Park, where you could watch each time and focus on a different character every time. You can do that here. With this one, yes, but you could also make 3 mini films out of it. You could say, right, this is the Zodiac. This is Zodiac. This is the Robert Graysmith story. This is the Dave Kotowski story. This is the Paul Avery story. And you would have 3 very, very interesting films from their different perspectives based on what they're doing. But Fincher and the film in general mashes all 3 of them. And so, like at some point you've left Graysmith for a while. You've left Ruffalo doesn't enter for the first 40 minutes. Yeah. And Avery's gone, like pretty much, apart from like one scene near the end where you see him in a bar, like with his oxygen and his drinks and stuff. But other than that, he's gone. Yeah. So,
I mean, if you're trying to sell this to like someone that's never seen it, this is a whodunit where you don't find out who actually did it. Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr. is in it, a big star, but he's not in the last hour. But do watch it; it's amazing.
It is. Yeah. This is the problem. I have this a lot with films, and people say, "Well, what's it about?" It's like, and it's like, well, it was the same with Oppenheimer last year. It's like, well, it's people like kind of talking in a room and hoping that the world doesn't blow up. Men
Great
talking
movie.
in rooms. Like, that's great.
Really?
Really?
No, it is.
If you say so. Oh, yeah. No, I have that with a lot of the films that I really like. It's like if I'm to tell you one liner, I'm like, it doesn't make, I'm not selling it very well. And you wouldn't realize I'm in marketing. Seriously. Yeah, no.
So, acting then.
Acting.
Robert Downey Jr. is kind of really good as Paul Avery. You kind of get all the kind of little ticks and quirks that you usually get with his performances, but I love the little scene where he gets drunk with Jake Gyllenhaal's character Graysmith, and all his little quirks just look tired and yet funnier when he gets this sort of like, and also later on with his acting, like when he gets this sort of Halloween card from the Zodiac killer, and he has like another like bloody shirt in the card. And I loved his shocked reaction when he gets really unnerved by it. And at the same time, he's really trying to keep his cool, but he just can't. He just has to freak out in the office. Yeah, so I think, he's excellent as always in this film.
I hinted at this earlier. I mean, with the three leads, and we're just going to call them all leads, different as with Gosford Park, where I think they're all kind of supporting each other. This, I think, is three leads. It's a case of three leads. I guess you're supposed to think Gyllenhaal is the lead, but I think he's gone for certain parts of it that the other two are also. So I'd say this is three leads.
Yeah.
Now, they are pretty much playing to type. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is doing the Robert Downey Jr., right? And Jake Gyllenhaal is being weird, freaky, obsessive guy. But, and Mark Ruffalo is just being Mark Ruffalo. He doesn't have his, they knew, like they have in Spotlight, but he's got a few Mark Ruffalo scenes. But we need to think about when this was filmed. So Gyllenhaal, yes, he'd had Donnie Darko and weird stuff, but like he's coming off Brokeback.
Yeah.
So that's a very different Jake Gyllenhaal performance. And this is before Nightcrawler, and it is before
Prisoners.
Nocturnal Avenues. Nocturnal. I always say Nocturnal Avenue every single time. Oh my God.
I would watch that.
I actually enjoyed Nocturnal Animals. I have never seen Nocturnal Avenue. But anyway, Nocturnal Animals. Sorry. I said it all the time because it's a 2016 film, and I was also in 2016 Revisionist Almanac, and I kept saying Nocturnal Avenue, and it's not. It's Nocturnal Animals. Anyway, so he's weird, a little bit weird in that as well. And but this is before he kind of was doing them, like these kind of roles. And also Ruffalo, it's before he has his like over the top spotlight or the moments and everything. So I think we need to remember that if you go to Zodiac after seeing them in all these other films, you kind of think, oh, he always plays the same kind of character. But this is 2007. So it's before a lot of them were really kind of in those little like pigeonholes. So apart from maybe Downey, but even then, I mean, it's before Iron Man, right? It's before Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And he's actually, he's almost like having a bit of a comeback here because he'd been away from Hollywood with all his drinks and drugs and everything, and now he's, making his comeback. And sure, he goes and does a million Marvel movies, but he's also doing stuff like this. And then, fast forward to 2023, and he finally, gets ultimate award for it. So, I mean, I think it's before that we saw them in those roles. So to say they're playing the same kind of characters they always say, I think is too easy because that then in 2007 it wasn't. So I think they're all really good, but I think the supporting cast is also incredible as well. Like, I mean, also just it's like a who's who as well. It's not quite as extreme as Gosford Park, although maybe for an American
not many
audience,
films are.
It is. But it's just us because we know them all because they're British in Gosford Park, maybe. Like, I don't know how well known they are internationally. But, you've got Dermot Mulroney just like in a mini tiny role. Anthony Edwards, we've said. Philip Baker Hall. Bloomin' Brian Cox.
Yeah, he was great.
It's
definitely steals his scenes he's in. Yeah.
Oh yes. Yes. That was supposed to be Gary Oldman. Random fact. Yep, that wouldn't have worked because they started putting prosthetics on him and said, "No, this isn't going to work." So he said, "Okay, fine. I'll just go and do prosthetics and get my Oscar a few years later." Who else? What's his face? John Carroll Lynch, who of course we know as being the absolute wholesome guy in
Yeah.
Fargo. God, I saw Zodiac before Fargo, right? So
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
okay.
So of course this is the Zodiac killer, what we think, and then you just watch him in Fargo, and you're like, oh no, it's a
Yeah.
teddy bear. But it's incredible. Also, I love the reasoning that they cast Anthony Edwards, because they said this guy is just a good guy. This is the guy that you know is the good guy. Like, he is your just trust what Anthony Edwards thinks. This is why David Fincher cast him, because he said he's, whether he's Goose in Top Gun, whether he's whoever he plays in ER, he's just this wholesome,
it
good
doesn't
guy, and that's what he wanted for that role.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise you at all that he's kind of like the first character that kind of pulls out of the case for his own personal reasons, which
family.
is very understandable.
Wants to see his kids
and then you're
growing
just
up.
kind of willing all the other characters to do the same and just like, leave it alone. Look after yourself.
Yeah, it's like the blooming, ring in Lord of the Rings or something. It's just like, take it off. Get rid of it. Or the Horcruxes, it's like, that's what it is. It's this obsession. And so Anthony Edwards, I want to see my kids grow up, which is, unfortunately what he was not able to do in Top Gun.
No.
Yes.
But yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, I think there's definitely some great subtlety there from him in terms of his kind of sort of studying scenes and his obsession scenes, and it definitely intensifies as the film goes on with that kind of stuff, and he does feel more weary and wide-eyed as he goes through the film, and I think it's definitely very subtly done from Gyllenhaal there.
Very gradual.
Which is great. And with Mark Ruffalo, as you say, like, Mark Ruffalo's just kind of doing his Mark Ruffalo thing, I think, and he does a frustrated cop just really well. I don't think there's much nuance for me with his character, but you can really feel that maybe there's some scenes where you're like, he could just blow up in real fits of anger at how just frustrated he is that he can't get any answers, especially in that scene where his captain comes out and says that he's not a match at all. Arthur Allen is not a match at all with the handwriting, and he's just like, really? Come on. You can really feel that he could just he does like knock a bit of the desk over as he leaves the room, but you feel like he could go further than that.
I mean, I think, it's also like little things with Ruffalo as well. Like, just, I know it's all part of the direction and the screenplay, right? But just these little things with his scrounging food off everybody, or just the, that's like the little things. And at the end, when he pays for everything after he's gone, but and he's just, I think he got a lot of shit, and I don't quite understand why, because he's not. I think and I get that he was recently in Mickey 17. I don't know if you saw that, but he's playing like clearly aping on Trump, right?
Yeah.
And he was getting a lot of shit for that performance, but he's not.
I really liked him in that.
Well, I thought he was awful, but that's because that's what he was supposed to be. But the point is, that was the whole point.
Yeah.
So it's he's not doing anything that he's not being told to do in a way. I mean, I'm sure, of course, actors have of course they do. They have a certain degree of what they bring to the role and what the choices that they make. But I also have to say, I don't think David Fincher is necessarily the director to encourage too much of that. So if he's not getting exactly what he wants from Ruffalo, then he's going to give him notes, and he's going to give him notes, and he's going to give him more notes, and we're going to record this, and we're going to do another take, and it's going to be 55 takes until I get what I want. So, I mean, it's not as if Ruffalo is in a vacuum thing. I'm just going to do my own thing, and I'm just going to be, going to make all my choices, and they're going to be bad choices. I mean, he's been told to do it in a certain way. And I also heard that or read that they wanted him to kind of not feel like the classic movie cop, and he doesn't. Neither of them do, really. I mean, I think Anthony Edwards maybe more because he ultimately sees, work-life balance, I have to remove myself, etc. But Ruffalo, he doesn't. Yeah, he's not. It's not the classic movie cop hero comes in and solves the thing, because there's nothing. They don't solve it. That's the whole point. Yeah. So you can't have somebody being the hero or whether it's a Jake Gyllenhaal solving the puzzle. Well, no, because he's not the hero, because he's an obsessed weird freak. Yeah. So I do like the way they subtly portray that. Yeah. And yeah, it's just all the side characters as well are just perfectly cast, no matter how, short the screen time is. And it's always nice to see Chloe Sevigny. I love seeing
Absolutely.
her. Yeah.
So acting, favourite performance for me.
Ooh.
It's a tricky one, but I think
is.
Initially I thought like Robert Downey Jr., but because he is kind of brilliant in everything, but I think Jake Gyllenhaal for me, I think takes it because he's so vital for like that last hour and the level of fear that comes across him and the level of obsession that he goes to, not in terms of like Nightcrawler levels, but like, but like it certainly feels more internal and just, you can definitely feel it behind his eyes with his acting. So yeah, I'll go for him. But in terms of acting score, I think I'll go for an 8.6 for me. I think, as you say, like Fincher is kind of like casting these guys for what they do best. They're not, it's ultra like realism, and they're cast for portraying, these characters of how they think these guys would have acted, and there's not like much room for massive like interpretation of how, I guess like Robert Downey Jr. found out with working with Fincher, I guess. But yeah, so I'll go with an 8.6 for me. For me, like the acting is not the standout here of this film. But I'm not saying it's bad, but it's still really great. I think across the board, I really enjoyed it. But there was no like standout performance that really made my score go higher.
I think the only one, because this was generally ignored by the awards bodies because they had other things to concentrate on, like There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men and small little minor films like that. Also, this just came out way too early, in March, so I was like, okay, well, whatever. I just might as well just put it straight to streaming nowadays. But alternative casting, by the way, I think that for Avery was potentially Brad Pitt, or was that Gyllenhaal? No, I think he always wanted Gyllenhaal, but Pitt was Avery, but also considered, I cannot see this at all, Orlando Bloom.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't think that would have worked.
I guess he was on a crest of a wave during the noughties, wasn't he? But yeah, I don't think it would have fitted, really.
Yeah. No. I like her. I mean, I'm nothing against Orlando Bloom. Beautiful man, especially at that time of But no, that wouldn't have worked. That would have brought the score definitely down. So, like we were saying, Ryan Phillippe would have, Jude Law would have brought the score up on Gosford. I think. These alternatives would have brought it down. I am going with a 9.4.
Nice.
Yeah, because, well, I mean, you say there's no standout because they're all good.
Yes.
That's my reasoning. So it is hard to single one out. I go between just generally loving most things that Robert Downey Jr. does to thinking, but he's just being Robert Downey Jr. Jake Gyllenhaal, the progress, as you say, through the film is impressive. The subtle changes over the course of the 2.5 hours, the manic obsession. I mean, personally, I think I want to actually say John Carroll Lynch, but I won't, because that's too minor. I think he's so good. Yeah. He is just that perfect level of the coldness and the calmness that he needs to have just to put you on edge, like you kind of have to, but also that kind of like coolness as well, like kind of, well, they know so either he's cool because he knows like he didn't do it, so like whatever, or it's cool because he knows that they're just not gonna be able to match things up, or the theory that there were two of them, which is another theory that I mentioned earlier, that they were there was a couple of them working together, which is why they're kind of like, well, that one was doing the writing and that one was doing the like whatever else. So I mean, I'll just, to be different, I'll settle on secretly it's Lynch, but I'll settle from the leads. I'll just to be different because we're reading the other performances generally. I'll go with Downey.
Yeah, don't tell anyone about your secret choice. Okay. Right, let's add up the scores then for Zodiac.
Tight. Your acting brought it right down. Hey.
Ooh. Zodiac gets a very impressive and exactly 56 points. So Zodiac wins by 1 point, where Gosford Park gets 55.
Very respectable showing.
Yeah. And as it's the last episode of the year, where do these films fit in our final leaderboard? Well, Gosford Park would go third, and Zodiac would go second. And our highest rated film of the year was Midsummer with 57.6.
Blimey.
And then Black Swan, Goldfinger, Requiem for a Dream, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Misery in 8th, I think. Yeah. And then you got From Russia with Love and What We Do in the Shadows.
Well, that was good. God, look at us coming into the top, like just messing up the top 3 for this season. Yeah. 57.6 is crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I haven't listened to that episode because I haven't seen the film. So I feel like I can only listen to episodes if I have seen.
The Comfort Films podcast with John and Georgia, they really adored that one.
Wow.
So did I, to be fair. Right, next episode, the first one of next year, will be focusing on a film called Soulmate. I think it's a spin-off of the kind of the Megan verse. So we'll be talking robot movies. A regular guest from the World of Horror podcast with Matt and Christina. Yeah, so that one should be a lot of fun to kick off the year. Heather, tell us about your Instagram page and the podcasts that you're associated with. Yeah, this is the moment to do it now.
Yeah, sure. Right. So, I'm Heather J Stewart everywhere. So, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter. Not that I do too much on there, but I am still there. Yeah, I won't call it X.
No,
we all call it Twitter. Still Twitter. God damn it. Yeah. So, but yeah, Instagram, Blue Sky mainly is where I'm mainly talking films. Yeah, and I've got some content coming up on the Revisionist Almanac, European awards, current awards, top 10s, rankings with Andrew over there. We also have coming up in the new year, we did the first ever draft. So we kind of drafted teams of Oscar winners from a particular decade. We had the 90s. I will not say my team who I have, but my team is the best, quite clearly. So yeah, we weren't allowed to double up on films. So if you drafted, say, like Schindler's List in film, you couldn't take Spielberg for directing Schindler's List, but you could take Spielberg for directing Saving Private Ryan. Not that I'm saying if that's what I did, but that's so that was a lot of fun. So that's a new format coming out there. Also, a number of guest spots. I've been on Greatest Movie of All Time recently, talking about Requiem for a Dream, which was a laugh and a half. Great film though. Listen to your episode for prep, I have to say as well. So that was,
cool.
Good timing. Yeah, and I've got an episode with them coming up in the new year on Little Miss Sunshine, which will be also I'm on coming up on. Clarissa Beckstead, she's on Instagram with I've Seen That One. Recently recorded Heather's with her. That was so much fun. And cool. I'm recording Zodiac with her soon as well. Yeah, nice. I was like, I saw that on her list and I was like, we could be killing two birds with one stone here. Yeah, I like maximizing my prep here. So that's also coming up in the next few months. And I'm doing Knives Out, Wake Up Dead Man. When I've seen it, I will be doing that with the Movies and Us podcast as well. Nice. Recording that in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah. So once we've all had the chance to see it. So yeah, quite a lot going on, and lots going into the new year as well. So
cool. All very busy. Excellent. Right, it's time to say goodbye. Sadly, so it's goodbye from Heather. Bye bye. And it's goodbye from me. I might have a go at trying to find out who the Zodiac killer is. I mean, can't hurt. No one else has figured it out, so I might have a go.
Good luck.
Bye bye. Thank you. That's it for part 2. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 1 if you haven't done so already. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.